and all that stuff. So I don't know if any of you guys ever did that.
Not Sunday, no.
But you can teach a dog to stand up the same as you can teach him to lay down. And it takes you 10 minutes to teach a dog to lay down. I don't know whether you know that or not, but most dogs you can teach them 10 minutes to lay down. If you got this collar on him here like this, and he's sitting there and you taught him to sit, if you put your foot on it like this here, and do your hand like that and sit down, he can't go nowhere but down. Well, directly, you don't have to be mean, but you kind of force him. About 10 times like that, and you can sit down, you go right down. So you can teach a dog to stand up as well as you can teach him to sit down. And grab that collar like this. Just right at the time that you start up, don't burn his head all the way up. Just grab him, jerk him, give him a sharp jerk that way, and just stand him up and then pet him. I'll guarantee you, he says, well, I ain't supposed to be down here, you know, because I'm supposed to stand on my feet. And you can break those dogs from laying down and everything, but don't talk to the dog. Don't say nothing. That's where most of us form bad habits and do things that we don't realize we're doing, like talking to dogs. You break the dog's concentration, letting off frustration of yourself. You see what I mean? So the best thing to do is try to, when you're training, try to keep your vocabulary at very few words. Come here, whoa, and that kind of stuff. In other words, that's all you need to say. You don't need to holler, I'm going to stomp your head now if you don't do it. Sometimes it's intimidation, and there's some dogs that'll hit a bird, and it's a form of hiding.
Is that from trying to hunt them themselves, maybe?
Huh?
I let my dog run loose when we were on vacation one time, left him at the farm. He pointed real stylish before, came back. He wanted to chase every bird, and he'd hunker down and sneak up on
Well,
it.
that's what I say. He's trying to hide.
Yeah.
A lot of dogs, I'm sure Neil and these guys see dogs running real fast that way and just swap ends that way, and the birds are right there and just go right down, see? And that's not a man-made fault sometimes. That's in the dog itself. But you can correct that too. In other words, hey, you're not supposed to lay down there, you know. In other words, especially if you're in a controlled situation where he's pointing a planted bird, where the bird's not going to get up, you know what I mean? And you can go in there and just jerk him up off the ground and pet him. Don't say nothing. Go in there and flush the bird. And you'll first see him, when you do that, most of the time when you start to flush it, you'll see him arch his back that way, but he'll come right back up. And after you work him a little while, he'll put that.
You're talking about electric collars, and I kind of get the opinion, if you're going to spend your money, you better spend your money for one of those variables.
That's right. I wouldn't have no other collar now that they have the time to respond. You know what I mean? In other words, if you say, here, come over here, and then he starts on like this, you know, and doesn't, then just tap him with a collar. Don't say nothing else. Just say nothing else. Directly, he'll respond. But I usually put the low intensity in and teach him. I first teach him with this, come here, then I'll put the collar in on him, and I won't jerk this thing, I'll just tap him with the collar.
That'll still be on him too.
This will be on him too. But I just tap him with the collar and say, here, over here. You know, and that makes him turn and come to my collar. I'll teach him to stand still first. You know, when he points, he's supposed to stand still. And you shouldn't have this every time that you should train him enough to when he points a bird, you can walk in there and flush and he doesn't try to run off. In other words, if you're up to that point, you need to do a little more work. In other words, I'm not saying he won't make some mistakes, but you haven't done enough work. In other words, he's trying to bully you around. So the thing to do is go back to the check line and teach him to stand still.
Dog out in the field on a check cord and just stop it, period.
Take the pup out there with him, just lead him out in the field that way and just stop him.
You're going to show him how to
Stand
do
it.
that anyway.
I'm going to show you that.
That's a
Take the
different
pup.
system altogether.
I'm going to show you how to do that. And it's nothing on you, just be persistent. In other words, you don't let him move. You know what I mean? You don't beat him up.
And you don't say whoa.
No bird.
You don't say whoa. Because he don't know what whoa is.
That's what I mean. Now, wait a minute. You said, okay, teach him to stand still. Eventually, when you get out in front of the dog and flush the bird, you're going to have to, you never say whoa ever. Is that what you're telling me?
When you're training,
No,
you try to never say whoa. Now, you may say whoa in a trial or a situation where you see a dog lean like this in a trial or something and start to move, you'd say whoa. But as long as you train to never say whoa.
I got that part. But what I want to know is when it gets to the point where you have to say whoa, when you see a dog leaning forward, How they know what whoa is?
The dog is taught whoa after you, now wait a minute, after you
Okay,
teach
that's what
him
I
to
wanted-
stand here,
Yep.
then you take the dog like this and you start walking off with him and you tell him whoa. Now he'll stop because you've lifted up on him, you know, just a little jerk. He'll stop. Then he'll start to move. Just correct him with this thing here because that's what you've done before you teach him what to whoa. I'll show you that. Then when you tell him whoa one time, that's all. And then you just walk around him. If he tries to take a step, instead of going back and setting him back and say whoa, just go there and correct him. And directly he'll plant them feet there and stand there. And you can do it twice as quick as you can with a whoa pole.
And you say you can do this
If I tell you-
anytime the dog starts, when you feel he's bold enough to do that.
Now, I started with him when he's 6, 8 months old, you know. And you took him out and led him around, let him see some dogs point birds, maybe let him point a bird himself. And then you start in with him and teach him to stand still and teach him whoa. Because that way you don't have to keep setting him back like this, whoa, whoa, whoa. And he walks forward and you say whoa and you set him back. Then you walk forward and you say, you dumb son of a gun, I told you whoa.
You want me to flush it? Here, come here. Come here. Come here. First thing you got to teach him what his name is. I can teach him that in just a little bit. Come here. Come here. 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 Over here. Here. What's his name?
Odie.
Cody?
Odie.
Odie. Come here, Odie. Come here, Odie. Come here, Odie. Now, has this dog had any kind of training as far as making him stand? He does this here, just wrap him on the leg like this, straighten him right up, repeat it, mash down on him, make him stand up. You want to work close to your dog all the time. When you're petting him like this, but you're straightening him up, you don't let him look around. I'll show you. If he wants to look around at me directly, well, I'll show you what to do about that. See, he won't look around at me now. Watch me bark him inside the head. turn his head back around and watch him now. He's gonna quit looking at me. This dog is, you can understand it. He wants me to stand there. So over. You go along with him like this and say, look. Now you've got the rope out. Just give him enough slack. Give him that. Don't let him cow from you and lay down. Pick him up, shove down on him. You shove back usually. Walk off from him. Walk back to him. Pat him on the head. And he tries to turn toward you, always head him the same way that you tell him to whoa. In other words, if he's going off that way, you don't holler, have whoa at him, and him turn and try to come to you. You want him to stop the way he was going, because that's very important. Now, if you had a stop to flush situation where you spoke to a dog out there, and the dog would turn to come to you, Judge wouldn't like that. You'd rather he'd stop. You'd rather he'd stop looking at the bird the way the bird's flying away. Because the other way kind of looks like he's blinking a flood. All right. Now, I tell you, you want to keep petting those dogs. Now, this is not all just jerking and slashing, you know. You want to keep reaching over there and petting that dog on the side, you know, when you correct it. When you mess with it, reach over and pat it on the side, because that, I like to pat them on the side because, you know, it's a tendency of a dog